Welcome back to another project. In this project, we are going to create drum kits. As you can see from the final version of the project, we have 4 buttons, and if you press on each button, you can hear the associated kit. For example, if you click on crash, we can hear the crash sound, and also kick, snare, and thump. Also, we have background image for each button, and when we click on the button, we can see an animation in the background image. Another feature of this project is if we press the first character of the letter, for example, if we press C or K, we can hear the sound as well. For example, now I'm pressing C. Now I press T, S, and K. Also, we see an animation and change in the scale of the button. In the next section, we're going to start with the HTML part of this project. So see you in the next section. Alright, let's start the project. First, we open the Visual Studio Code, and here we close the Get Started tab. In the File menu, we click on Open Folder. I would like to create the project in my desktop, but you can create it anywhere you like in your computer. So we click on Desktop. Here we click on New Folder button to create a new folder, and we name the folder Drum Kit. We press Enter, and here we click on Select Folder button. We close the Get Started tab again, and here in the left, in the Explorer section, we create an HTML file. We right-click, we click on New File, we name the file index.html, and we press Enter. Now we have the index.html file on the right side, which is completely empty, but we can use an exclamation mark to have a HTML5 boilerplate. So we write an exclamation mark, and we click on the first auto suggestion. Now we got the HTML5 boilerplate, which has doc type, which tells the browser what version of HTML the page is written in. For HTML5, we just need to write HTML here. Then we have a HTML tag, which is the top level element in the HTML file and includes the head and body tags. The lang attribute here inside the opening HTML file, HTML tag, sets the language of the page. In our case, as we want to use the English for our website, we just set it to be EN, which stands for English. The head tag has meta tags and also the title. The first meta tag is for the HTML character encoding. The UTF-8 is recommended by HTML5 for web developers because it contains all the characters and symbols. So the user won't have any problem seeing our page and can see all the characters and symbols. This meta tag tells the Internet Explorer browser to use the most recent rendering engine, which is Edge. And the next one is the viewport meta tag, which tells the browser on how to resize the page. The first part, we can use Alt-Z to turn on the word wrap to see all the code. Here, the first part is adjusts the width of the page to the device's screen. For example, the mobile screen has a smaller width than the computer screen. Then we have here the initial zoom level of the browser, which is 100% as a default. Then we have the title tag, which change the title of the page. We can see the title in the browser. In order to see the browser inside the Visual Studio Code, we can use the live preview extension that we have installed previously. We just need to right-click and click on Live Preview, Show Preview. Now on the right side, you can see the browser, which is completely empty, but with document title. We can change the title here. We just write Drum Kits, which is the name of our project. And now we can see the drum kits in the title of the page. Let's add a H1 tag here inside the body tag. We write down drum kit. I would like to add an icon here that is similar to drum. I would like to use Font Awesome for bringing icons to my website. So in order to use the font awesome, we need to just go back to the desktop and we click on Google Chrome. And here we search for font awesome. In the search results, we see the fontawesome.com website. We can click here on icons. We can see a lot of icons here that some of them are pro, so we need to pay, but most of them are free. We in the search bar, we search drum and we click on the first drum icon, which is the free version. And here we click on the HTML tag, which is an I tag with the class of FAS, FA drum. We just click to copy the HTML tag. We go back to the VS Code. And just after the drum kits here, we had a space and we paste the link using Ctrl-V. We can't see the icon yet because we must add a link to the Font Awesome CDN within the HTML code. So we go back to the browser, we open a new tab, and here we search for CDN.js. The first website is cdnjs.com. We click on this website, and here we can search for the Font Awesome CDN. We write font and can click here the first font, the first link. And if you scroll down a little bit, we can click here to copy the link tag. We go back to the VS Code, and just under the title tag and the end of the head tag, we paste the link. Now we can see the drum icon in the browser. Let's add a container and empty div. So we write .container and we press enter to accept the auto suggestion. So now we have a div with a class of container, and inside this empty container, we add some buttons because we want to style the buttons after the HTML part. We just make the buttons hard-coded now, but later we're going to make these buttons using JavaScript. So first we just write button. We add a class of btn, and we press enter to accept the auto suggestion. And the first button is we just write snare for the drum kit name, first drum kit name, snare. We copy this button 3 times using Alt-Shift arrow down, 1, 2, 3. We just change this snare to, for example, kick, and we have crash, sorry, and thumb. So we have now our 4 buttons here, and that was it for the HTML part. In the next section, we are going to start styling the website using CSS. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have finished the HTML part of our project. In this section, we are going to start styling our project using CSS. First, we need to create a CSS file. So in the Explorer section on the left side, we right-click and we click on New File. We name the file style.css and we press Enter. Now we have our style.css file here, but before styling the website using CSS, we need to include a link to the CSS file within the HTML code. So we switch to the index.html, and just after the Font Awesome tag, Font Awesome link tag, we create a link tag and we choose the third auto suggestion, the one with the CSS. Now we have a link tag with the relationship between the HTML file and the external style sheet. The href here, the href attribute, defines the destination of the link. As both files, I mean the index.html and the style.css, are located at the same directory, we just need to have here a style.css. Now we can use CSS in our project. So we go to the style.css. We start styling the body. So we write body, and inside a set of curly braces, First, we remove the space around the body by margin 0. We can see that there is no space. And for bringing the items to the middle, horizontally, we need to add we need to change the display to flex, as we want the title and the bottoms to be on the top of each other. We change the flex direction to column because the default is row. Now we can see them on the top of each other, and we can use align items center to bring the items to the middle horizontally. After that, we can change the height to be 100% of the viewport height to makes us the ability to bring the items to the middle vertically, because the body would be the same size of the viewport height, which is the size of the screen. And any screen, including mobile or desktop screen, it doesn't matter. The items will be in the middle. In order to bring it to the middle, we need to use justify content center. All right. Let's change the background color of the body to be, for example, pink. And for the heading and the icon, we target this H1. So here we write H1, and we want the size to be bigger. So we change the font size, for example, 50 pixels. And let's change the font to be, for example, in a different font family. So we use the font family. We use impact. We can use Alt-C to see all the codes. And let's increase the distance between the characters of the text using letter spacing, and we just say 4 pixels. Now we have more space between the letters. Let's change the color to be white, and let's add some shadow effects around the text using text shadow. So we write here text shadow. The first value in the text shadow is the position of the vertical shadow, which we want it to be 2 pixels. The next one will be horizontal shadow. We set it to be 2 pixels as well. And we want to set the blur radius to 4 pixels. And the last value of the text shadow is the color of the shadow. We want it to be black, but with transparency. So we use RGBA function, and we use 0 for red, 0 for green, and finally 0 for blue, which gives us the black color. And we use 0.3 for the alpha value, which gives us 30% opacity. All right, that's enough for the title, but you can see that when we decrease the size of the screen, the title wraps in 2 lines. In order to remove this line wrapping, we can use white space, no wrap. Now, always the title will be the same in the same line. All right, let's start styling the buttons. So we target the button using its class here, the class btn. So we write .btn. First, we add a padding, 30 pixel for the padding top and bottom, here and here, and 50 pixels for left and right. And let's remove the background color. We just set the background color to white. Let's remove the border by using border none. And let's add some space around the buttons using margin. Just say 10 pixels. As you can see, it's responsive, but the buttons are on the left. So we can fix it by adding text align center to the parents of the buttons, which is this div with the class of container. So we just here, we write .container to target the div, and just say text align center to bring them in the middle. All right. Let's increase the size of the text. Just say font size for example, 30 pixels. And let's, you see that the size of this button is smaller than this one because it has only 4 characters and this one has 5 characters. So we just change the min width to 200 pixels. So all of them will be in the same size. We can add some box shadow as well. First, let's round the border of the buttons by using border radius 10 pixels, and we add the box shadow. Same as the text shadow, the first value is the vertical shadow. I think it's a horizontal shadow because the shadows goes this way and that way. Yeah, that's correct, the horizontal shadow. So we call it, we set this one to be 0. The vertical shadow, we want it to be 4 pixels. So it's, yeah. And we set the blur to be 8 pixels. And we change the color transparency by using RGBA, 0, 0, and 0 for the black color, and 0.3 for 30% transparency. Now we have a beautiful button shadow. Also, we want to add the background image for this button. The images we want to use, if you go inside and if you download the resources of this project, and if you go in the folder, you see 2 folders. One is images and one is sounds. The images has 4 images, including crash, kick, snare, and tom. And the sounds are 4 audio files, including crash, kick, snare, and tom. So you just need to copy these 2 folders. You go inside the folder that you created the project. I created the project in the desktop in this folder, and you go wherever you created the project, and here paste the 2 folders. If you go back now to the Visual Studio Code, we can see these folders here. We want to change the background image. Firstly, we want to make it like a static. All the buttons has the same background image. For example, the Tom one. And later, we're going to use JavaScript to dynamically change the background images one by one. So here we just say background image, and we use URL, and the URL is images/tom.png. So we write here images/tom.png, that is suggested here. Now we can see all the background images. Let's increase the size of the image as big as to fit all the container by using background size cover. And let's change the color of the snare, kick, and tom texts. So we just say color, we make it white, but let's change the font family to be, for example, cursive. And let's add some text shadow as well, like the same as we use for the H1. So we just write it again, text shadow, 2 pixels for the position of the horizontal shadow, 2 pixels for the position of the vertical shadow, and we have 4 pixels for the blur. And also the color we want to use is black with 30% transparency, the alpha value, and these are red, green, and blue. All right. The next things I want to do is to change the cursor to be pointer. So when we hover on the buttons, we see a hand pointing, a pointing hand. And when we hover over the button, we can use the pseudo class hover to change the color of the text. So we just write btn hover, and we change the color to be, for example, pink. Now, when we hover over the buttons, we see the difference in the color of the text. And also, when we click on the button, let's change the background size. And we can use active pseudo class. So we just write btn and use the active CSS pseudo class to change the background size of the image, for example, to be 105%. And when we click on them, we see the change in the background size. Yeah, that was it for the CSS part of our project. In the next section, we're going to start adding functionality to the project using JavaScript. So we're going to create these buttons dynamically using JavaScript, and we're going to add some audio tags as well to hear the sound of these drum kits. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have finished starting our project using CSS. In this section, we are going to start adding functionality to our project using JavaScript. First, we create a JavaScript file. We go here in the Explorer section, we right-click, and we click on New File. We name the file index.js, and we press Enter. Before adding functionality to our project using JavaScript, we need to add a link to the JavaScript file within the HTML code. So we switch to the index.html file, and just at the end of the body tag, we add a script tag. And we click on the second auto-suggestion, the one with the src. As both files, I mean the index.js and index.html, are located at the same directory, we just need to write index.js for the URL of the link. All right, let's go back to our index.js file. And first we create an array. We just add a const. We name the array kits. And for the first element, we just write down the name of our kit or instrument. So the first one is crash. The second element is kick. The third one is snare. And the last one is tom. We can use Alt-Z to turn on the word wrap so we can see all the codes. Now we need to loop through the kits array using for-each method. So we just write kits.forEach. The for-each method actually triggers a function for each element one by one. So, and we can get each element in each loop here. So we just write kit. So we get each kit, and we can write our function inside these curly brackets. The things we want to do is to create these buttons using JavaScript dynamically for all the instruments. So first we go back to the index.js and we delete all these buttons that we created hard-coded. And we're going to create these buttons using JavaScript here. For creating an element inside JavaScript, we can use create element method. So we just create a constant and we name the constant btn element for the button. And inside the document, we create an element. The element we want to create is button. So we just write here inside a double quote button. Now the buttons is created, but we cannot see it yet because we have to append it as a child inside this div, the div with the class of container. First, we need to return this div inside the JavaScript. So we create a constant. We name the constant container element. As the div has a class, we need to return it using query selector method. So we just write document dot query selector, and as the selector is coming from a class, we need to add dot here and write down the class name, and the class name is container. All right, now we can append this button inside this container. So here we just write down container element, and we use append child method to append btn element to the container element. All right. Now we can see the buttons here, but they're not styled yet because in the styled CSS, we use the class btn to style the buttons, but we haven't added any class to the buttons. For being more clear, let's go to the browser using opening browser. We open the web developer tools using Ctrl+Shift+C. And as you can see inside the div with the class of container, we just have 4 buttons, but they don't have any class. The method we can use to add the class is the class list method inside JavaScript. So we go back to our index.js file, and just under the create element, we just write btn element dot class list, and we use add method to add the class. The class we want to add is btn, so we just write btn here. As soon as we write btn, we can see the buttons styled inside the browser. But still, we don't have any text inside the buttons. We can use the let's first check it inside the browser. Now we have a div with a class of container. Inside this div, we have buttons with a class of btn. And here we can add another method that is called inner text. So we just write dot inner text, and the text we want to add is the elements inside the array. For example, crash, kick, snare, and top. We are getting these elements here, cat. So we just write round cat, and for each loop we get one cat, and we create the element accordingly. So we have crash, kick, snare, and top. We can make the first character of each word uppercase using text transform capitalize, actually. So we need to go back to the style.css, and in the btn section, and at the end we add text transform capitalize. And all right, we already made the buttons. The next things we want to do is to add their song. For example, if we click on crash button, we can hear the crash.mp3 sounds. So if you, the only things we need to do is just create another element, and the element we want to create is an audio element. So we create a constant here, we call it audio element, and we just create it using create element method, and we just inside the parentheses, we write down audio. So if we go back to the browser, inside the div with the class of container, we can see the buttons, but we cannot see the audio tags. And we need to use the append child method again to append this element. So we write container element dot append child, and the child we want to append is the audio element. All right, let's go back to the browser. We open the div with the class of container, and now we can see the buttons as well as the audio tags. Next, let's add a source for the audio tags, and the source will be, inside the image tag, we have our images, and inside the sounds folder, we have our crash files, the audio files. So we added, just under this, we add the src resource. So we just write down audio element dot src, and we equal it to this folder, and the src will be actually sounds slash, and we wanted the name of the sounds would be dynamic, so we use plus kit and plus dot mp3. So if we go back to our browser, and we see inside the div, we have the audio files, and the source is sounds. The first one is crash, the second one is kick and snare and tom. Let's change the background image as well, because the background image is all the same. So we go back to the index.js, and for the button, before appending it, we just add the background image. So we just need to style it first, and dot background image. As you can see, the JavaScript syntax for CSS properties are different from the CSS. In CSS, for background image, we use background dash image, but in JavaScript, we just connect them together, background image together. And this one would be equal to URL, we open this parenthesis, and this one, we want it to be dynamic, so we just add a plus and kit, and we just say, we need to add the folder as well. So here we just add images slash and kit.png, And also we close the parentheses. So we can see different images, background images for the buttons now. Let's add an event listener to the button. So when we click on the button, we can hear the associated sounds. So here we just write btn element dot add event listener. The event listener, the first parameter is the event, and the event we want to use is click. So we just write click. And the second parameter is a callback function that will be triggered after the event happens. So after we click here, this function will be triggered. So, but the things we want to do is just play the song. We just say audio element dot play. And if we now go to the browser and we just close the web developer tools, and if we, let me zoom it a little bit. If we click on the first button, you can hear the song. And second one, snare and tom. The next things I would like to do is to play the sounds when we press C in the keyboard, or K or S or T. So we just target to the first letter of each text, and if this key is pressed, we want to play the song. So we go back to the index.js, and just at the end, we add an event listener, this time to the window, and the first parameter, which is the event, is key down. It means if someone press the key, this function will be triggered. So we get the function, and we want to know which key is pressed. So here we get the event, and if we console log event.key, and you open the console here with using Open DevTools pane, and inside the browser, if you press, for example, now I'm pressing S. Now you can see S here, or F, or H. The reason we have 4, because we are in the loop, and the loop has 4 elements. All right. So instead of console logging, let's add a condition here to say if the key at the event dot key, which is the key that someone pressed, is equal to the first letter of each text. So we can get it here, like just say kit.slice method. The slice method actually returns to the parts of a string. And here, for example, for crash, the first letter has the position 0, and the second one has the position 1. And if we want to get the first character or letter, we just need to write inside a parenthesis 0 and 1. So now we are getting the first letter, and we equal it to the key that someone pressed. And we just say if this condition happens, we want to hear the sound. Just we write down audio element dot play. We go back to the browser, and here now I'm pressing C. You can hear the crash sound. T, you can hear the tom sound. But we don't see any animation in the buttons. We can add some animations as well. We can change the scale of the button, for example. So we go to the index.js, and here we just change the scale by using a scale function. So we just say btn element dot the transform method, and transform method has the scale function inside it. So we just say scale, and inside a set of parentheses, we just say 0.9. It means 90% of the scale. So if you go back to the browser and now we press C, it didn't work. Transform. Oh, we missed the style here. Because we are changing the style, we have to write down style first. Now we go back to the browser, we press C. You see that the scale of the button changed. Now we press K, S, and T. But we want the scale come back to normal after a few seconds. Actually after some milliseconds. So here we added set timeout method. We just say set timeout. Same timeout actually triggers a function after a timer is expired. Actually, the first place is a function, the first parameter. So we create the function. And if this function will be triggered after a delay, and then we can set the delay here. For example, we say 100 milliseconds. So we just say after 100 milliseconds, just change the scale to the 100% again. So we just say btn element.style.transform, and we set it to scale again, but this time the scale would be 100%. So we go back to the browser. Now I press K. You see the animation, the kick, C for crash, and S and tom. Also, we can click it by the mouse. You see the animation differently. Yeah, that was it for our project. I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next project.